Hello, hello. I am here tonight with Joanna Walden, and I'm so happy you could join me. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Mm.
Yeah, I am an author. I wrote a
Mm.
book called The Inside Hustle, a mystical misfits travel adventure into the unknown.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, it's got the uncrossed out, if you can see that, because it's
Oh,
kind of like going into the known. But
yeah.
um, it's a transformational travel memoir, and I am a visionary transformation specialist. So I help people transform their lives and go from one state of being to another.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that via a real mixture of stuff actually, but I have some parts are spiritual. It's a very 360-degree approach, I would say. I'm
Mm.
looking at the mental, emotional, spiritual and physical aspects of our being in a really holistic way,
Yeah.
and then helping people transform their lives wherever the attention is needed.
Ooh, I like that. And especially the 360, because there are a lot of parts to us, isn't there? We are 360 degrees. So
Yeah
yeah, just focusing on one part can sometimes seem a little one-sided. So I think
yeah
that sounds amazing.
There's a saying I learned in kinesiology. I studied in
Mhm.
applied kinesiology years ago in London, and they always say where it is, it isn't. So like where the pain
Yeah,
is or
yeah.
whatever, where the issue is,
Mm.
not really about that. It's about something else.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
sort of like the overarching philosophy with everything, really, because you may be experiencing, a problem in your body somewhere, but it's
Mhm.
likely to do with an emotional issue that's been happening,
Yeah.
or something else. So, just giving people a different perspective on how to look at things that are going on in their lives is really important, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, and I'm a fan. I love digging. So to find what's really going on.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh, so tell me a little bit about your sensitivity. Maybe in relation to your work. I'm sure there's a story on how you ended up doing such amazing, all-round, interesting work.
Yeah. It's funny because I think the sensitivity, I definitely had it in my teenage years, and I
Mm.
was seeing auras, and I was having prophetic visions,
Mm-hmm.
and I was highly sensitive to other people, and getting bent out of shape myself, and and just
Yeah.
because, and having self-esteem issues with that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as if being a teenager isn't hard enough as it is,
When
right?
you're really
Yeah.
sensitive to everything and everything
Mm.
going around you and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So although I used it to my advantage in some ways, like the prophetic
Mm.
visions used to
Yeah.
save me from getting into trouble as a teenager.
Oh,
um, but
people, people
but
would love
it's
to get.
yeah, but when I got into I was in a corporate advertising career for many years. And
Mm-hmm.
also, it actually definitely had its benefits there too. I
Mm-hmm.
would be very intuitively dealing with my clients and things like that.
Yeah.
And but when I wasn't deeply fulfilled by that career, I really wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
something that I felt I was making a difference, that I was really passionate about,
Yeah.
that I loved showing up for every day. That was
Mm.
kind of my criteria.
Yeah.
And so when I left and I was looking into something in a more holistic nature,
Mm-hmm.
and I think being okay with my sensitivity, being actually sort of embracing it rather
Yeah.
than having it in the background, like bringing it more to
Mm-hmm.
the forefront of my experience made a huge difference,
Yeah.
because I started trusting myself and the
Mm.
subtle ways that I was reading energy and things in a more profound way. And
Yeah.
then things started opening up a lot more
Mm.
for me. So I would definitely say that that's how I use it in my work in that way. And it's been expanding beyond
Yeah.
where I allowed it to be before, when I was in a corporate career, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask how you how you became aware. You say that even as a teenager, you experienced things that most people don't. Were you aware at the time that you were different? Or
No, not really. I didn't really think about it like that. I don't think, it was very, it was just what it was. And
yeah.
I don't think I analyzed it to that point,
No, okay.
But
when did you become aware?
I guess just in this, I mean, I went through some really dark times within myself, because I felt everything so deeply, and I was also my own worst enemy, and I was beating myself up and criticizing myself and being really, really mean.
Yep. Sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah. And I think when you're highly sensitive, I think you tend to do that. You tend to be so aware of your inner landscape to a higher level maybe than other people. And so, it can really, that's how it really worked against me, I feel, because I was not in a place to really support myself. I was still, dragging myself along the coals and being horrible to myself about where I thought I should be, and coming a lot from my mind instead of the depth of my heart. And, that I think I was my own worst enemy. And I talk about this in the Inside Hustle because the biggest thing was I was getting in my own way, with all of the way I was treating myself and my relationship with myself. Which was a huge, huge hurdle, because when you stop getting in your own way so much, you are more in the flow of your own beautiful energy. You allow things to move through you. You allow the sensitivity to be a beautiful part of an experience rather than creating problems with it. So you're using your own capabilities in the way that they're really meant to be used, without us getting in amongst it and
trying to micromanage life.
Right.
And,
exactly.
When we get out of the way, life gets a little wiggle room, doesn't it? And it tends to be on our side as long as we're not fighting it. So things can work out.
I think, it's so much better when you take the foot off the gas, and you are just in a state of being, and you're not trying to control and plan and overanalyze and do all that, like there's such a lot of energy. Actually, you just become so much more relaxed about it, and you are able to open to new and expanded experiences that you may not have had access to before, because when we are really fixated about something, it's like we've got the blinders on like a horse. We can't really see outside of that, and we don't allow things that could be solutions that are different to come in, because we're so fixated on one way of doing things.
That's about 45 degrees out of the 360, isn't it? Sometimes we
So I very much went through the journey of battling against myself, to then embracing these subtle things that I noticed about myself that were different, and thought, okay, well, maybe this will lead me somewhere interesting. And it's absolutely what's been happening over the last sort of 5 years, when I've really just gone into it and just allowed it to be what it was, really, rather than trying to fight against anything, or being overwhelmed by something, or just more sitting in a place of openness to allow everything to be as it is.
Getting to that place, that's such relief from feeling sort of alone with the responsibility for everything, holding everything up in a way. You get to relax, and you're not actually alone, in the sense that we have the whole universe at our back when we allow it to.
Exactly.
Is there anything specific you remember made a difference for you? If in case our listeners are sitting there thinking, oh my God, that sounds good, that's where I want to be.
I mean, I think, you know, the trust that I mentioned before,
Mm.
you know, we have to trust that the things that we are feeling and intuiting and the information that's coming through to us,
Yeah.
when we start to trust that and follow the energy, that's when you get into some amazing adventures and expansion, and life becomes this sort of magical journey.
Yes.
It's a lot more fun.
Yes.
But we have to trust, otherwise we don't follow the journey. We don't follow those little inklings or the things that speak to us in our reality. And when we start to interpret reality differently, and then we start to really trust what we're getting and allow that to guide us, it's like what I say, allowing the light to lead you, you know.
Then I like that one.
Then you open yourself up in a whole other way, and then you're like, wow, okay, so, and then you trust a little bit more, and it just starts to, I think that self-trust is so important to build within, and to know that we're all exactly where we need to be in every moment. And that when we can really sit in the presence of our experience and not try to be out in the future and not try to be in the past, but that present moment is such a portal to, when we use our sensitivity, to opening up the floodgates to all sorts of other stuff. But when we're not present enough, we don't have access to it. So, you know, the trust of following those little nudges, of really being present with everything, again, allowing it to open up and guide us to where it wants to go, is, you know, part of the process of letting go and, I guess, surrendering into your own experience, really.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Yes, that really resonates. That's so good. And was it part of this trust and, you know, following the light, as you say, was that what led you to the work you do now, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I didn't want to be in advertising, and I was working in New York, and I knew that I would be constrained by the visa and getting a similar job. So I left and I moved to London because I thought that I would have a little bit more flexibility because of the kind of visa that I had. And I was, you know, I was in the corporate job, but I was expanding out into another arm of it, basically. But it was still the same set of issues that I was dealing with, to be honest. So it wasn't really getting me where I needed to be. But on the side, in the background, I was studying holistic therapies like kinesiology. I was doing other workshops, and really I started to get into writing at a later date. And because nothing I was going after studying another modality or somebody else's work wasn't really resonating on the deepest level for me. And I realized that wasn't going to be the answers, and I didn't know what else to do. So I started writing a book, because I thought, well, if I can write a book about my journey and all of the things I've been experiencing along the way and my exploration, even if I don't have all the answers yet, then maybe that will help somebody else. So I actually left, instead of I got some money from my grandmother when she passed away, and instead of I was literally going to invest in a flat in London, but I decided against it at the very last minute and left and went to South America to find more energetic and spiritual adventures to write about, to bring people more of an experience of what was happening with me. And so I still didn't know if that was going to be helpful or what, but I just thought, you know what, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to do this, because it was a sort of a nugget of inspiration that came to me about that and how I could help other people. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do that. And so I wrote The Inside Hustle, and since that really it helped me to crystallize a lot within myself, that process. And then off the back of that, I thought, wow, I could really use all of the things I've learned. I was inspired by the tools I learned in advertising to combine that with holistic healing kind of tools, combining it with bits of just all of the things that had worked for me over the years, as opposed to things that hadn't.
Yes.
Because I think if you're in this sort of spiritual world, and spiritual is a bit of a trigger word. I'm not meaning religious. I'm just meaning in a more holistic understanding of ourselves and relation to the universe and this whole experience, I guess. But that, you know, that side of things is where, my passion and my exploration was, and unseen realms and how they interact with us and ourselves as energy and what that means. And so, I think it led me to focus even more on that path. And I then started to build this other way of looking at life, you know, putting it all together in a way that now has turned into my signature process of transformation that I do with clients, that I've pulled from many different places rather than taking on somebody else's modality or, you know, or thing. So, and all of it is based in heart technology, because in 2017, I had a dream, and I get a lot of information in my dreams, and these 3 giant light beings showed up. And I was in this dream, and I was sitting in a chair like I am now, and I was saying, but what about this ancient meditation technique? And they were like, no. And I said, but what about this healing modality? And they said, no. And they said, it has only ever been about the heart. It only ever is about the heart. And it will only ever be about the heart. Heart technology is all you need. And heart technology is the most relevant and effective tool and technique for humanity right now on the planet. And when I started really grounding myself in my heart with all the work I was doing, and this is before I knew anything about the Institute of Heart Math or heart coherence or anything like that. This was not that well known back then. But when I started to really start working with the heart as a multidimensional technology within us, and more than just a beating muscle, you know, it helped me get out of my head, which was a lot of the problems I was creating myself, and really start to sink into myself in a new and profound way. And so that was really, really, really helpful for me. And I developed, like all my work now, I always am connecting with the heart, basing it in the heart, and that's had a profound effect on everything I do, for sure. That's really also added to the opening up and the expanding into what I do now. And it really helps, I think, with our sensitivity as well. It really just, instead
that's
of
kind of where it lives, isn't it? In the heart. And as you say, when we end up in our heads, which I think we do a lot of the time because we overthink and we analyze and we try to figure it out, but when we can trust it in our heart. That was such a beautiful story about how you're not just speaking about trust, you lived it, you followed that nugget of inspiration, and you went there and you did that, and I think that's powerful. It must have taken some courage as well.
Yes. I mean, when you're writing a book about yourself already, and I exposed myself in the dark times. I mean, it's funny because I describe it as the comedy of errors. It's like Bridget Jones meets Eat, Pray, Love on steroids, but with a cosmic twist, you know.
So good.
I mean, and there's channeled writing. I do channeled messages, things in between the chapters of my comedy of errors of that whole my life, you know, that I'm telling people about. But yes, it took courage, because I really didn't sugarcoat anything, and I was really honest about the depths of my despair when I was battling myself really profoundly. And I talk about all of the challenges that I've been in a really, really honest and authentic way. And so there is a lot of courage in putting that out into the world. But then also, yes, you know, I'm not picking up somebody else's stuff. I'm creating my own thing moving forward. So it does take a lot of trust and guts to move forward with something like that, and not default to, you know, having to have accreditation because that's the, you know, the conditioning of society, or having to have X to be able to do this, or, you know, like I worked with a coach, you know, a few years ago, and the biggest thing they gave me permission. I just needed someone to give me permission to do what I was doing and to bring my expertise together in a beautiful, unique way that is really powerful, impactful for people. But, you know, you have to pull yourself out of being reliant on these structures and setup of our current reality and society to be able to really do that. So yeah, that's not an easy path, but at the same time, I feel it's very satisfying and deeply fulfilling. And when I can help people in a really great way and it's lasting change, then that makes me incredibly joyful and happy in myself.
Yes. And I bet that makes it feel like everything was worth it.
Yeah.
All the dark days, right? Or
and I wouldn't be able to be as helpful to my clients and resonate if I didn't know what they were talking about.
No.
You know, I'm the poster child for imperfection here, not perfection. You know, you have to be able to connect with people and understand the
and be real about
things and be real about it. And like, I mean, there's plenty of things that I'm not proud of that has happened in my life, and like awful dark times and all sorts of things. But you know what? It's life.
Yes. Yeah.
And we all grow and expand from these experiences, and it gives us, you know, I also believe that when we're going through all that stuff, that we are actually in service of the collective of humanity, because when we are healing and recalibrating the energy from these experiences and being able to look at them in a new light, then we're able to shift the energy and shift patterns within our genetic line and also within the broader humanity by being of service. And you know, when we're all connected, so when we do it for ourselves, we're doing it for everybody else.
Spreads like ripples. And and I think it's so powerful. And I'm sometimes, I wouldn't say surprised, but I'm in awe, because being sensitive is often, we sometimes think of it as being delicate or, well, being sensitive or vulnerable. But I find the more sensitive people I talk to and hear their stories, I find that there is this courage in not just going through those dark days, because everybody has those, but it seems to me like there is this thing about being sensitive that we embrace it and can turn it around and be honest about it and sort of say, okay, I have these things I'm not proud of. I have these dark days, but if it helps someone else that I own my stuff and share it, then it makes it okay, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. You know, there's a sort of a view that almost sensitive people are very shy, or, you know, and we can be for sure, but I'm a very confident person, but the sensitivity is lying in the background that, you know, means that, so it's a different, I guess it's a different, you know, personality structures, but all also very sensitive. You know, we don't have to be these sort of wallflowers in the background, although many are and they're comfortable with that. But the sensitivity can happen no matter what kind of personality you are, I think.
And I like to think that we as human beings become more sensitive sort of collectively, and more individuals either are sensitive or are becoming aware that they always were, or we always were, or whatever. At least I like to think so.
I think so too, because I think we are all capable of the same things. We all have an innate genius human structure that if we just allow ourselves to expand in, like we were talking about earlier, that all of that stuff opens up. Like, you know, I'm not a special human being. This is just it's just, I've allowed myself to go there. And I've allowed myself to explore and understand the subtle frequencies that I'm interacting with, and understanding when I get feelings when I'm around certain people or in certain rooms, or having an experience, or I'm heading off on something's not feeling right, or, you know, I mean, everybody has that. And I mean, most people
Yeah.
just call it like, oh, my gut feel, oh my, you know, or things like that.
Yeah.
But everybody has it. And some, I think when they're just more in tune with themselves and they're less, you know, some people are just on that treadmill of daily life, you know, and are just running on the treadmill, and it's just, you know, just making ends meet. And then you're not really tuning into yourself on the deeper level. But, you know, so that's why there's these differences, but we're definitely all quite sensitive beings, actually.
I think so. Yeah, I think
and
so.
we, you know, it's just all going to come out in different ways. That is the beautiful, unique way that we can show up. And as the frequency of the planet is rising and the consciousness is shifting, we're going to see more and more of it, I believe, too. Yeah,
I think so. Oh, I like that. And to round it out, and on an end note, what would you like to see more of going forward? Maybe we've touched on it already, but in your own words.
You know, we're in such a hugely transformative period on the planet right now. And it's chaotic for people. It's uncomfortable for some people. It is deeply transformative for everybody. And I, you know, what I would love to see is us really, you know, being able to let go of the old ways and the old structures and allow some of these things to collapse more easily and birth something new. I think, you know, there's a bit of hanging on that's happening right now in various different places and various different things. And, you know, when we are on this return journey to connecting with the deepest parts of ourselves and recalibrating our relationship with nature and the divine and all of this, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that happening as people allow themselves to let go of the old, and just allow new things to come in that are in service of all beings and in respect of everybody and the earth. And just for everybody to be able to start to see the spark of the divine in their life and allow it to flow through, so that we're all in a really beautiful, cohesive benefit of everybody and everything that we do and think and feel, you know. That would be wonderful.
Yes, more of that, please. Yes. I think that sounds really lovely. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. And I will make sure to put your details and your information in the notes if people want to find you. And please send me a link to your book as well. We need that. We need to see that. So so I'll make sure people get that. And
thank you.
Thank you for being here. And
thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to chat. I love your energy. And
likewise. And getting to talk about all these things, that's just the best thing ever. So I've enjoyed this.
That's why we do what we do.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you so much for now, and we'll speak later.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.